for joining us. Moving on, in its recent charge sheet against 5 members of the banned Popular Front of India, Maharashtra Anti-Terrorism Squad has claimed that the group was indeed working towards establishing Islamic rule in India. Now, this is not the first time this charge has been made against the organization. A similar load came into the hands of the Bihar police when they busted a PFI module in July 2022, which was before their ban. CNN News18 has accessed this Maharashtra Anti-Terror Squad charge sheet. This shows PFI's internal document which detailed a plan to establish Islamic rule in India by 2047 with detailed steps of how to achieve it. It also says that the 5 accused wanted to create disaffection and hatred against a religion by spreading disinformation amongst Muslim youths. The documents further reveal that the group aimed at disrupting Hindu organizations such as the RSS. This apart from using Muslim youth for violence in the country with arms training and taking money from overseas to fund their activity. So the main headline is the Rule of Islam plan hatched by the PFI. So what does this charge sheet reveal on that front? Now, this booklet was seized from Mazhar Mansur Khan's phone. He's one of the accused and functionary of the PFI. The document is titled, there's a picture of that on our graphics, India 2047 Towards Rule of Islam in India. It's pretty clear. Document was also marked as internal, not for circulation. We wonder why. And the document goes on to explain the steps needed to achieve this. So one of the steps is that you have to bring the Muslim community together under the PFI umbrella. The community has to be brought together. It cannot be splintered into various groups. Tell Muslims that they are under threat. They are being mistreated. The whole Muslim genocide, the whole Muslims under threat in India, and all of that narrative. They wanted to disrupt Hindu organizations like the RSS, as I mentioned. They wanted to engineer a collapse of the police and judiciary in India. It even talks about, quote, infiltrating these arms of governance and then engineer their collapse. Get financial help from Islamic countries to fund activities. Use PFI cadre to create violence in India. Remember, PFI has been accused and has been found to be running training camps for youths with weapons. Interestingly, they also talk about using SC, ST tribals. So basically, part of the non-minority community to vote for PFI candidates. And I'm talking about elections here. Their literature also says that they only need 10% of Muslims in India to bring about this change. They don't need to be a majority in terms of population. The Rule of Islam plan came out in public earlier also, and I've mentioned, but the new sensational revelation is how PFI twisted the recent Agnipath scheme launched by the government for its anti-India agenda. So this charge sheet also has a WhatsApp note with the title Agnipath. Basically, the charge sheet shows a WhatsApp note which was circulated possibly between members. That note is titled Agnipath or a Sena of Sangi Monkeys. This is paraphrasing, of course, because this note is in Hindi. What this note then does, it's like an article of sorts. It compares Agnipath's policy to the devil Israel's policy, where everyone does mandatory military service for a while. It says that this scheme, the Agnipath scheme, is basically preparing an army of rioters. It also profusely uses the RSS name and basically suggests that it is the RSS plan to execute, quote, a Muslim genocide in India because they cannot use the army as it stands. It then asks Muslims to come together and fight. It says, if you are Sunni, then like the Hamas. If Wahhabi, then like the Jihadi Islami. If Shia, then like the Hezbollah. Come to the field, come to the battleground. Interestingly, it also says that we should get more Muslims enrolled into this scheme so that we can build a new India. We all know the kind of India they were preparing to build. The anti-India plot is clear. The agenda was always known. The PFI is even banned in India now. But the big question we ask today, is the threat of the Rule of Islam plan, violence in India, etc., is that threat truly gone with the PFI ban?
PFI ने एक ऐसा प्रोग्राम तैयार किया कि उसके साथ कुछ सालों बाद पूरा हिंदुस्तान एक इस्लामिक राष्ट्र को, ऐसा उनका प्लान है।
Guest joining us, Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow, ORF. Aarti Agarwal is author and researcher. Atikur Rahman, Islamic scholar. Danish Qureshi, political analyst of the AIMIM wing. Danish, why don't I start with you? You know, for the longest time, people were raising objections against the PFI for exactly these reasons. But there were a whole host of people, including political parties like the AIMIM, that often use the Muslim victimhood, the fact that Muslims are being trampled upon, or, you know, their activities are being curbed, to defend what the likes of PFI were doing. But actually, if you look at it, you look at their literature, what they were attempting to do, they are the biggest enemies of Muslims in India, pitching Muslims against India and the rest of Indians. I wonder why this organization was being defended tooth and nail till they were banned in September last year.
I think nobody has defended an organization. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. तो कोई भी डिफेंड नहीं कर रहा ऐसे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को, लेकिन दिक्कत क्या है, सरकार के जब सिलेक्टिव वो हो जाते हैं एक्शन, तब प्रॉब्लम होता है. दे आर नॉट टेकिंग एक्शन अगेंस्ट द पीपल दोज हु वांट टू गिव द शार्पनेस टू द नाइफ to cut rather than vegetables. They are not taking action against the people to stop to buy the products from the stalls of the Muslim minority. That is the main problem. Although PFI proceedings is under before the court and let the court decide. Today it has been investigated by the investigative agency and not by the judgment of any court of law. Second thing, the accused of terror, there are some people, those who are the member of parliament of the ruling party. The BJP has not keeping safe distance from such action. So these are the problems.
But Danish, don't you think there's a fundamental problem when you compare an individual statement to an organization which is very openly in its internal literature or even outside hatching a conspiracy and waging a war against India itself? I mean, I don't think the two are comparable. Individuals are separate, an organization is separate.
This is not about the accountability. We have saw how the Sansas are taken a plot. Those who were planning to kill the 20 lakh Muslim in our country. What are the actions have been taken against that?
अरे but they were booked. आप ही लॉ की बात कर रहे हैं ना, आप ही कोर्ट की बात कर रहे हैं पीएफआई के केस में कि पीएफआई को कोर्ट ने नहीं मुजरिम दिया है, तो उनके अगेंस्ट भी तो एफआईआर हुई है. अब उसका भी वेट कीजिए
कि क्या जो एफआईआर हुई है वो सफिशिएंट है. जो खुले में ये कह रहे थे कि 20 लाख,
तो आप बताइए क्या करें, आप बताइए क्या करें.
नहीं, कोई और अगर होता तो अब तक तो यूपीए में होता. वो क्या कोई है यूपीए में?
तो यूएपीए हो जाएगा तो ठीक हो जाएगा.
नहीं, यूएपीए क्यों आ जाएगा? आपके एक्शन
Aren't you from the AIMIM wing which is against the UAPA? Asaduddin Owaisi day in and day out criticizes the UAPA.
This is not about the favoring or the objecting on UAPA. This is all about the actions taken by the government. Not a single statement has been come from the Prime Minister against the member of parliament who जो सब्जी से ज्यादा और कुछ काटने की बात कर रही थी.
अच्छा, पर मैं आपसे एक सवाल पूछना चाहती हूँ बिफोर आई गो टू आवर अदर गेस्ट. मेरा सवाल आपसे क्या था? पीएफआई जैसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक्चुअली जो भारतीय मुस्लिम हैं उनके लिए सबसे ज्यादा प्रॉब्लमैटिक है, क्योंकि वो भारतीय मुस्लिम को रेडिकलाइज कर रही हैं, अपने देश के खिलाफ वॉर वेज करने के लिए सिखा रही हैं. उनके लिटरेचर में ये भी लिखा है कि आप पहले मुसलमान हैं, बाद में इंडियन हैं. आपकी सिर्फ एक ही आइडेंटिटी है कि आप मुसलमान हैं, आपको दीन के लिए काम करना है और आपका एक ही मिशन है कि पूरे दुनिया में इस्लाम का रूल होना चाहिए वगैरह वगैरह. आप क्या मानते हैं कि ऐसी लीडरशिप चाहिए क्या मुसलमानों को भारत में? क्या लीडरशिप चाहिए?
देखिए, मुझे लगता है कि जो भी कुछ चीजें हैं वो कोर्ट के सामने रखी गई हैं, और जिस तरीके से मैंने कहा कि एक्शन आपको प्रॉपर लेने पड़ेंगे. अगर आपका एक्शन लेने में ड्यूअल स्टैंडर्ड है तब तो प्रॉब्लम है. किसी प्रदेश के मुख्यमंत्री ये कहते हैं कि देश का धर्म सनातन है, कोई एक्शन होगा उनके खिलाफ? नहीं होगा. क्या इस देश का धर्म सनातन है? नहीं है. लेकिन फिर भी ये कहा जाता है. आप
समझ नहीं रहे हैं. एक इंडिविजुअल आदमी का ओपिनियन एक चीज होती है. प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड द डिफरेंस. दिस इज नॉट द सेम थिंग. आई कैन नॉट अलाउ दिस टू हैपन. यू आर अगेन with these arguments and comparisons defending an organization like the PFI.
पीएफआई के ऊपर आरोप हैं 2047 तक देश को इस्लामिक राष्ट्र बनाने के. आप गुजरात में आए, आपको हर चौराहे पे हिंदू राष्ट्र के प्रखंड में आपका स्वागत है ऐसे बोर्ड लगे हैं. तो क्या वीएचपी के खिलाफ कार्रवाई हुई अभी तक या होगी?
बट क्या उसके लिए वो धमाके कर रहे हैं? क्या उसके लिए वो लोगों को काट रहे हैं जैसे पीएफआई करती है?
Of our constitution, India is not Indian doesn't belong to any religion.
Okay, one second. You're not understanding. Along with the idea that India will be ruled by Islam, there are activities and actions planned which are terror activities. But anyways, Sushant, I wanted to come to you. What I find really important in this discussion is the PFI is already banned, of course. So I have a twofold question to you. In their literature, it says very clearly we have to tell Muslims again and again that this government is against you, this country is against you, that you are being mistreated. And we've seen even civil sections of civil society, furthering this agenda of Muslim genocide in India. I feel, frankly, anyone who furthers this narrative that there is some Muslim genocide in India needs to be acted upon. That is one. And secondly, do you think that the threat that the PFI posed goes away with their ban and whatever their plans were? Sushant.
Shivani, no, the threat does not go away. In fact, I think the threat has just been highlighted with this particular charge sheet. And there will be many more such threats going forward for precisely the reason which is there in your first question. And the reason is, like the gentleman from the AIMIM, that's a dog whistle what he is doing. The courts have not done it. When the courts finally, even the Supreme Court finally, sentences a man to death, then they question the court. So they will never accept that there is something wrong which is happening. And then what they try and do is draw false equivalences. Now, I'm very clear in my mind. If there is any organization, regardless of the denomination of that organization, even if it's a Hindu organization, yeah, somebody can say that, yes, India should be an Islamic state. But is that India is a Hindu state? Is that somebody saying that we need to infiltrate into the government and sabotage it from within? That we need to recruit people and, undermine the entire state system? That we need to give armed training to people and then, carry out terrorist acts? Is it somebody saying that we need to get funds from foreign countries or Islamic or any non-Islamic country to carry out these activities?
Exactly.
Now, if anybody is saying that, I am very clear, you need to book them under the same provisions of law. But if somebody is making a wild rant or somebody has an opinion, I might have an opinion that yes, the basic ethos of India is Hinduism, right? Or the Sanatan Dharma. Nobody can take umbrage at that. Somebody might not agree with me and they're free not to agree with me. They're free not to agree with me.
Yeah, that's not the same as waging a war against the country.
Exactly. That's, the two are entirely different things. Yeah. And the charge sheet is very clear that this organization, and forget the charge sheet, Shivani, look at the track record of this organization.
Absolutely.
Look at the kind of violence this organization has perpetrated. Look at the links of this organization with other terror groups, not just in India, but outside India. Look at the kind of networks these guys have developed and the kind of activities they were indulging in. You add all of that up, this was a very sinister agenda, but this was just one organization. And thankfully, the government has acted, I would say, very late, but nevertheless, they have acted against it.
But what about those, Sushant, who give intellectual cover fire for exactly what the PFI uses to radicalize Muslims in India? That there's some Muslim genocide going on.
Shivani, that is the standard operating procedure, isn't it? We've seen that in Kashmir, haven't we? That there was the underground and then there was the overground which was backing the underground, giving the intellectual cover fire. The so-called ecosystem. These are the gentlemen, for example, the kind of speed. It's very disingenuous what he's saying. But this is the kind of intellectual cover fire, the kind of deflection he's doing, the kind of dog whistle he's doing on this particular show. Always trying to, draw these false equivalences, trying to sow doubts. He could just as well come out and publicly say that nothing that the PFI stands for do we agree with. Yes, you can have a problem with the ruling party.
Absolutely.
Many people do, and they're entitled to have a problem with the ruling party
but why
and its ideology and its affiliates. But does that mean that you are going to start waging war against the country?
Exactly.
And if
no,
you are,
why do you even want to be seen?
Wage war against you.
Why do you even want to be seen as, even with ifs and buts, supporting an organization like the PFI? That's my fundamental question. Atikur Rahman, I mentioned that there is also a WhatsApp note which twisted the entire Agnipath scheme to absolutely vulgar proportions. In that WhatsApp note, which I'm sure was circulated to members and otherwise, it said that Agnipath was a scheme preparing for a Muslim genocide. When are we going to act against people who just drop this term willy-nilly to radicalize and upset Indian Muslims? This is absolutely untenable. No country can allow this kind of chatter by people in civil society that, an entire community is being killed, which we know is not true.
Shivani, the access I have to my community, the Muslims of India, I can assure you that so far, any organization in India, if they are working with the constitutional limits, with the governmental, dictates, with everything what has been said and done in Parliament of India, only then the Muslims will be supporting such organization. I was the one who have time and again said that and supported PFI. Now it is banned. And I go by the verdict of the government of India that a banned organization needs to be called for question in the court of law. The charge sheet had been filed. Let them defend themselves. If they can defend themselves, well and good. We will continue our support. So far, they are held guilty by the courts. I can assure you, no Muslim will be supporting any organization.
Sushant Sareen has just mentioned. No, but let's face it, Atikur Rahman, we need to face this uncomfortable question. Sushant mentioned terrorists who have been sentenced to death in India by courts of law. We've seen what has happened on those cases. This is a problem.
Yeah, I would like to comment upon Mr. Sareen's comments. Shivani, Mr. Sareen, the same things we were discussing for Sharjeel Imam also, for Safura Zargar also. Now they are today freed by the courts. And not only freed, Shivani, the court has said that they have been made scapegoats by the police. What you have to say about this?
I think the Delhi police has gone back to court.
PFI and the court rules out.
The Delhi police has gone back to court against that judgment.
If the court opines...
Shivani.
Yeah. I have limited time, Sushant, please, 30 seconds.
That's a different story.
Okay, fair enough. I got your point.
That's a different story.
Sushant, nobody is answering my question of how dangerous this narrative that there is some Muslim genocide taking place in India. And I feel, frankly, anyone seen participating in this narrative needs to be booked. Yes, go ahead, Sushant Sareen.
No, my only question to Mr. Atikur Rahman is that hasn't he heard the kind of rabble-rousing which this guy, Sharjeel Imam, was doing and some of these other people were doing? Wasn't he aware of it? Does he endorse that? Does he agree to it? And if that is the reason why he is apprehended and he is being booked, and among other things, there are other charges against him, yes, maybe a court of law has said it. But did you not hear what he said? Did you not hear what this other fellow, that despicable character from JNU, I forget his name, Umar something. Don't you remember what he said? Is it okay for you to live in this country, eat this country's thing, become citizens of this country and said, Bharat tere tukde honge? Is that acceptable?
Okay. Can I just say, exactly, one second. Sharjeel Imam was caught on camera saying that let's break off the chicken neck and separate the Northeast from the rest of India. That is
so you don't believe in the courts, that means?
No, that's not what he's saying. But I do feel that Muslim victimhood. I have limited time. Atikur Rahman, 1 second. Aarti Agarwal has not spoken. I do feel Muslim victimhood cannot be used. 1 second. Sushant, Muslim victimhood cannot be used as an excuse for raising questions over the integrity, structurally, territorially and otherwise of India. That's as simple as that. Victimhood cannot justify it. Post-CAA agitations, we have seen repeatedly this victimhood being used to really threaten India's, peace and its territorial integrity. I have very limited time. Aarti, I'll give you the final comment.
Thank you, Shivani. So, we know that PFI has terror links with, all the famous terror organizations in India, whether it is ISIS, Al-Qaeda, LET. So I see so much of hand waving on the side of the Islamic scholars saying, oh, Muslims don't support this. And then in the same breath, in the same line, literally, they go on to say that, we are still against the politicization, and, this is not something which is blah, 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 whatever he said. Everything he said is just hand waving, in my personal opinion. And what the evidence we have found so far of terror links, of PFI links with the Delhi riots, of PFI links and all the other riots which has happened in the last 1 year, it is just evidence. We have evidence in front of us. So, and that evidence warrants action on the part of the government as well as the courts, because we know that just a ban on PFI is not sufficient. It is SIMI which eventually refashioned itself and remodeled itself into PFI. So, just a ban alone is not enough, because they have other methods of funneling funds into India from outside India to continue these kind of activities and then claim victimhood. So they do both the things in the same breath, literally. They keep claiming that we will make you an Islamic state, we'll impose Sharia on you, we will make this a Muslim dominant country. And in the same breath, they also claim that we are also victims somehow. We are also facing discrimination. So, this kind of hand waving is something I completely find
problematic. No, I do believe that actually more problematic. This is not just a governmental and legal action. There has to be a societal response to such activities going on between us. Can I mention, for the benefit of our viewers, there are two interesting things. One, there is a note of what all quote-unquote weapons should be kept at home, including, patthar eat on the rooftops, petrol, kerosene, and it's all very nicely worded कि गाड़ी में पेट्रोल खत्म हो जाए किसी दिन तो आपके घर में 10 लीटर पेट्रोल होना चाहिए, गाड़ी नहीं है तो आप केरोसिन रखो, चूल्हा चलाने के लिए केरोसिन होना चाहिए. ये सब मिला है सर व्हाट्सएप नोट्स में. Secondly, very cleverly, PFI literature says that, use the name of Ambedkar, Constitution, etc. to bring people into your fold. Don't divulge your real intentions. I leave it at that. I've run out of time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. On that note, a short break. On the other side, some of the day's biggest stories.